Hello, Lazio all over the world. Welcome to another episode of Lazio Lounge. Before I start, as my memory is struggling a little bit, a big shout out to Gino. Thanks for following us. I met your dad yesterday outside the stadium, so this is a thank you for following every podcast. We have to talk about Lazio Genoa, and I'm joined by Simon. Finally, Alistair is not here anymore. We can celebrate, and I don't think it's a coincidence that Alistair is not in Rome and Lazio win 3-0. First clean sheet of the season for the Serie A, Simon.
Every time Pinamonti got the ball, I was thinking, oh God, let's hope.
Yeah, to be honest, I was convinced he would have scored yesterday, but he didn't have a chance, did he, yesterday?
No, defended very well. I think best defensive performance. Patrick did a great job, never getting Pinamonti to turn around. He was stuck to him like glue. And from a defensive point of view, apart from when that English player did a run down the pitch in the second half, no real big problem. And so that was positive. There were a few negative things, though, of yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about last season. Pretty much we dominated the game. Genoa had just an opportunity. Provedel wasn't great, and Retegui scored, and we lost a game that we should have won. So I was concerned going to this game, especially because Lazio played Thursday night away in Netherlands, and then 3:00 kickoff on Sunday. Not that much time to recover. Again, massive turnover. But overall, I thought Lazio was a little bit tired, but very focused on the game. I thought that was the positive sign. Let's not forget that Zaccagni, that should have started, woke up and wasn't great. He had a little bit of fever. And so Noslin started. So there was a lot of question mark going to this game. But the answer was positive, right?
Yes, the answer was positive. Pedro said at the end of the match, we didn't have a lot of time to prepare. I don't think it's a matter of tiredness. I think that they didn't really know what to expect. Also because Genoa had so many players out for injury. So as a consequence, they didn't really know what they were going to, who they were going to face. I think the other thing was that the Dia and Castellanos in the first half were a bit slow, were a bit too static. And that didn't help the game much, because if they move around, if they create spaces, and then it opens up the gate, and so the players can go in. And also Zaccagni does a hell of a job on the left, opening up defenses, moving, which is something that you can't expect Noslin to do.
Last time Dia and Castellanos score, or one of the two score, was Lazio Nice, so the 4th of October. I felt that in the last couple of games, Dia isn't playing as well as the beginning of the season. Do you think it's a problem because he's playing a lot, or because of the position he's playing? Because even yesterday, as you were mentioning, Dia struggled. He didn't create that much. He's moving a lot, but at the end of the day, he's not creating a lot of opportunity.
In the last games, we've played against teams that have been very organized behind and very dense behind. There have been lots of players. So he's always surrounded by defenders. And that makes it a little bit more difficult for him to play. Whereas before, it was a little bit easier. Now, for example, on Thursday and yesterday, once Lazio went ahead, you would think that the other team would try to equalize. Instead, they stuck to their game plan and stayed behind. So Lazio had trouble in finding spaces up front, and I think that was the main problem. Pedro, in this moment, is in an incredible state of form, both physically and mentally. I think that he could score in any moment in time, and He is not a starter, maybe on Sunday, but certainly during the week. I don't think he can play 90 minutes and 90 minutes, one after the other. But he gives a little bit more speed. That's what Diaz did not give yesterday. But the guy is good. Castellanos also didn't help him in the first half. In the second half, Castellanos moved a little bit better, and so we had a few more chances. He opened up the game a bit, something that he did not do in the first half.
Do you agree with me that the changes Baroni made in the second half, the substitution, improved the squad? Because we were a little bit slow, we were struggling a little bit. Baroni changed a little bit the team, and the game was different, completely different for us. We played much better.
Actually, the best change was Castrovilli, who was able to. Rovella had finished the gas 10 minutes earlier, but Castrovilli was able to do a lot more than Rovella, and press higher and put Genoa in difficulty. And I think that made a huge difference in the last 5-10 minutes.
Let's create a little bit of discussion, and I want to hear what our listener thinks about this. Paolo Di Canio yesterday on Sky said, well, Lazio's not doing nothing amazing. Lazio's always been fighting for the fourth spot, 5th, 5th, 6th, 7th. There's nothing different compared to last year. They're not doing anything better. They are just doing better in the Europe League. Do you agree with this quotes of Di Canio? Because this is a completely different team, right?
Lazio last year was awful. Boring to watch, boring to follow. At a certain point, those who were on front of the television may have switched to the tennis in some parts of the game, because it was really boring. And we hardly ever created chances. Physically, we were not good and not in good shape. That's the main problem of last year. And then we picked up a bit towards the end, towards December, Christmas, and started to play a little bit better. But compared to last year, this is champagne football. It's a lot better. And because also we always see this as fantastic, because our expectations were so low at the beginning of the season. To see us play so well is beyond what we had imagined, even the most optimistic person. So that, I think, is the difference. Di Canio is right that we're always in the same, more or less in the same places. We're always on the left side of the table, so that always makes a difference. But last year we were pretty poor. We did not play well. We didn't have the right attitude. The players were not enjoying themselves on the pitch. You can see it in the little things. A long pass, which is maybe goes too high, goes over the top, or is too short, or something like that. Last year, you'd get complaints. You could see, oh no, not again. Whereas this year, you get thumbs up, whatever happens. Except for Guendouzi, who was always a bit of a complaint.
He's French, come on.
Yeah, but And but all the others also, they have a more positive attitude on the pitch, and that makes a difference. And when Noslin scored, I can't remember which one of the players indicated him as the scorer, as a great goal. Because Noslin has had a bad, not an exceptional start of the season. So Noslin scored a fantastic goal. Really, really good goal. Zaccagni wouldn't have scored that goal.
Yeah, it was Nuno Tavarez indicating Noslin. You mentioned Noslin. I think he had a huge opportunity yesterday, and he took it. Not sure. He made an incredible goal. I watched it again, and it was... you can see the talent of the player. He's not consistent yet. Even yesterday, where I thought he had a good game, he would disappear for long moments, and that's where he has to work. But that was a huge opportunity for him, right?
Yep.
After a terrible start of the season.
Well, he played well the first match. I thought it took him it took him a while to get to start to play, but once he did, he didn't do too badly. He's also played in 3 different roles.
Yeah.
He's played on the right, on the left, in the center, and I think he's also played in Diaz's place in some cases. So I mean, it's not easy to find. And also, you got other players too that are playing better than him. There is a lot of pressure. It's one thing playing with Verona and one thing playing in Rome. With Verona, you don't have too much expectancy. He scored 5 goals, I think, and made loads of assists in 6 months. So he did a lot. He did a lot, and I tend to trust the manager on this because the manager had him last year. So if he thinks there's the guy's good, then we should trust him. He knows a lot more about Noslin than we will ever do.
Were you surprised to see him starting on the left side? I mean, without Zaccagni, you could eventually move Isaacsen on the other side, or maybe start Pedro.
No, I think I didn't think Pedro would make it. I thought maybe Chaunau would be used on the other side. But Noslin has not played for a long time, so you also need to think about long term. You need to think about giving each player the possibility to get into form. I mean, not playing for a month is not good for a player as far as his form is concerned. So giving him a 90-minute match to sort of get back into a decent form is the good thing to do, because Chaunau played on Thursday. Pedro played on Thursday, and he played a little bit on Sunday, on the Sunday earlier too. He was going to come in the second half anyway. So you need to get the same level of form for more or less everybody. And it was a good idea to play with Noslin. It was a risk, but it paid off.
We have to take risk. I mean, this team is built for risking, I think. We have a lot of youngsters. We have a very young team compared to the past. And so we have to give them an opportunity. I always believe that to improve, to grow, youngsters have to play. Training is not enough. So this is important. And it's good to see them performing, to see them improving. I thought at the beginning of the season, Noslin was very shy on the pitch. Now he's gaining confidence and he's starting making moves. I mean, the goal he scored, I thought before that he was dreadful. He made all the mistakes. So it's not easy, After 10 minutes of doing mistakes, making that goal, it's not easy for a youngster.
No, at all. But it's the same. He's now scored 2 very good goals, because he scored a good goal in Turin as well. So, and also, I mean, let's face it, our objective is to continue to be in Europe year after year. If it's Champions League, great. If it's Europa League, it's okay. We're not here to win a Scudetto. So for the moment, then maybe in 3 months' time, we'll be top of the table. But I mean, for the moment, this team isn't built to win the Scudetto. So whatever happens, anyway, it will also depend on a bigger team doing badly. So if we go into Champions League, it will not only depend on us doing well, but also on one of the big teams not doing very well. And for the moment, we're up there, and we have nothing to lose. We have to go onto the pitch with the idea that we have nothing to lose, and that is the best way to play well. Once we start to worry about the result, about this, about that, then we'll lose. Last year, having played the first 2 games and losing meant that there was enormous pressure right from the beginning, and that in the end killed the whole season.
Well, we had a terrible fixture at the beginning of the season, and that had a huge impact, I think, in the final result. The team got scared. We were down, and we always had to recover, and we felt the pressure of absolute. And then I thought we were focusing much more in the Champions League rather than in the Serie A. But we didn't mention still the player of the game, Nuno Tavarez.
Superman.
Again, another incredible performance. Who could expect that from a player who, in the last year, played just one game?
Yeah, with Forest, he played hardly ever. And he is just physically fantastic. Sometimes he goes forward so fast he forgets the ball. Oh, the ball behind me. And sometimes he's a bit chaotic, but he's probably one of the best signings we've ever made. And by that, I mean, because we had zero expectancy from Nuno Tavarez, we thought that he'd be an alternative to Pellegrini, not the main left back. To see him with he's so powerful. He's and also he crosses the ball very well, and he has vision. He will score. Even in the end, he will score goals because he's already starting to have a little bit more confidence in shooting from outside the box. He almost scored yesterday 3 times, and so best left back since Kolarov. So that's a long time.
Yesterday I tweeted, imagine if Lazio signed Cabal instead of Nuno Tavares.
Yes, I saw it. But also he's cheap. He arrived cheap. It's 6 million, I think, and 30% on future sale. And I don't think that many people are, apart from us, Lazio supporters, are actually speaking so much about him. Though it's still. So he's still. We have to see him in a big game, but for the moment, Luca Pellegrini wasn't all smiles yesterday at the end of the match because he realizes that there's no way he will be able to reach that level.
Well, he played well at Lazio Milan. That was probably his best performance. So. Talking about Luca Pellegrini, we mentioned him on Thursday. He played another great game. I thought he's improving a lot. And I mean, this team, these players know that if they're going to play on Sunday, they're going to rest on Thursday and the other way around. So I guess Pellegrini knows that he's going to play. I don't know if against Como, do you expect a Europe League turnover?
Yeah, maybe not as much, but 5 or 6 players. Yeah, I think so. Maybe behind they'll give a rest to Patrick and play with Guijo.
Well, Romagnoli's back. I think he's going to start.
And so I think there will be a few changes. We just have to. Baroni's already he's mixing things up. He has one team on Sunday and another team on Thursday. This is the first time we play Serie A on Thursday. Let's see what he does.
Yeah, and then we have to mention that Lazio is going to play Monday night in Rome against Cagliari, and then it's Thursday against Porto. So very little time to recover, and this is a problem, I guess. Yes, it's true that Lazio is playing in Rome on Monday, but you have pretty much 2 days to prepare the game against Porto. That is going to be very important. Let's remember Curva Nord will be shut down. And, I mean, if Lazio wins the next 3 games, it would be huge for the Serie A and for the Europe League. Because if you beat Porto, you're still top of the table and you're probably 1 foot already in the next stage of the Europe League, which would be very, very important because you skip the qualifying. So that would be important. And again, not that much time to recover. We already had some players that are not 100% ready. There's a question mark on Lazzari if he's going to be called on Thursday. So it's important to have extra days off.
Yeah, Marozic is a machine, and he can play 90 minutes a day. I think he could play every single match. I mean, he's just he's always been very. He physically is in great shape most of the time. Even last year when he didn't play too well, it was more of a team issue more than a physical issue, a mental issue. And so I'm not too worried about the right back. Pellegrini could play against Como and give Nuno Tavarez a rest, especially because I would think that maybe Nuno Tavarez will be used again in Europe against Porto, because that is the match. That and the Ajax match are the big matches of our European tour. So we need to have the best players available. So perhaps play Luca Pellegrini on Monday against Cagliari, and then play with Nuno Tavarez against Porto, because we are used to knowing that if we win the 3 matches at home in the group, as it was in the previous years, we were more or less there, because if you got 9-10 points, you went through. I mean, I think only once Napoli got 12 points and came third. So you're really sort of quite confident. Now it's a bit, you don't really know what's going to happen. So we just, we think that maybe with a 4th victory, excuse me, we'll be able to go through, but anything could still happen.
No, I think the biggest question mark we have thinking about Como Lazio is our midfield, as usual, because Rovella was really tired on Sunday. I thought he had a terrific game, another terrific game. Guendouzi finished the game, and we don't have that many options. So, we tried Dele Bashiru there on Thursday, and didn't work out. Well, we cannot really tell, right? Twente was 1 man down after a couple of minutes, so it wasn't a real test for that. You mentioned Castrovilli coming in on Sunday. I thought he had a good game.
I think he will play on Thursday.
But do you think he will play close to Guendouzi in the Rovella?
Or him and Guendouzi, or him on Rovella. I don't think Guendouzi and Rovella will be playing both Thursday, Monday, and Thursday after. They will be rested. Maybe they'll be rested. And up front, I think Castellanos will play the 3 games, and I think Diaz is going to play anyway. There may be a few changes on the wings, and maybe in defense a little bit, but I do think that Castrovilli is going to play on Thursday. I would put a euro on him being in the starting 11.
We didn't mention Vino, who scored the 3rd goal, and every time he comes in, he's a nice addition. And if you go back to this summer, there were rumors that he wanted to go back to Uruguay, that he felt like he didn't have an opportunity this season. He's an added value player, a little bit like Pedro, right? He comes in, he's always, you know what you're getting out of him, and he scores every time he has the opportunity. That's really good.
He's dangerous. He did an assist for Pedro on Thursday. He scored yesterday, and so yeah, he always gives a lot. He does make a few mistakes occasionally, especially he could score more. Last year he scored a lot. Yeah, and it was thanks to him that we managed to scrape it through in some matches, and he shoots well. He's got a good header. The perfect sub, and the perfect player to play. Not all the time, but occasionally as alternative to Rovella and Guendouzi. So certainly, great buy. I mean, this is his last year of contract, if I remember rightly. So we have to see if he's going to stay this extra year. So perhaps he wanted to. I know he wanted to go to Galatasaray last year, but Sarri said no. So we have to see. There's quite a lot of players, the older players, that end their contracts this year. So we just have to wait and see what the plan is going to be.
Well, I think looking what happened this summer, I think Lazio's thinking about changing a little bit the guard, right? Go and sign some youngsters because, well, with Inzaghi, this team got very old. And even with Sarri last year, we weren't one of the oldest team in Serie A. So I think you have to change a little bit. And this season has proved it, right? These players are more focused, more willing to prove everybody wrong. I think the only game we didn't play is Udinese away. That was our worst performance, and probably till the second goal of Udinese, Lazio didn't show up. But in the other games, even when we lost against Fiorentina, Juventus, etc., we played football, I would say, even better than our opponent. So this is encouraging.
We also have to take into account that next year we need to cut expenses. So we need to
reduce the budget, the salary.
Reduce the salary budget. So that, I think, is also going to be a very important, because it's not, I mean, you can spend 15 million euros on a player. That isn't an issue as far as costs are concerned. The cost is the 5-year contract and the salary, because if they get 3 million, it means that it's 6 in real terms. Over 5 years, that's 30 million. That's a lot of money. So you've got to be careful where you're going to put your money, and that is something that we have to take. They will have to take into account when they decide whether to keep Pedro or to keep Vecino, to keep Maruzic, for example. I think he is also one of the ones that ends their contract. So, yeah. Or maybe bring a younger player and see what happens. There is the necessity to have a more homemade grown homemade players, so people from the Primavera as well, to move up. Hopefully, there'll be a few over the next. Sana Fernandez, I don't know what he's doing in Holland, but hopefully he will be one of the ones that will be in Lazio's future.
Well, we have to say that if Lazio qualify for the Champions League, obviously you'll have a bigger budget, so you can spend more money. But at the moment, I don't think that's an opportunity for us, unfortunately. I think the top 4 position are not locked, but very difficult for Lazio to reach them. I mean, Inter, Juventus, Napoli are playing are a better level than us at the moment. Then there is Milan that is not playing great football, but is still there. So that's going to be difficult.
As I said before, it all depends on them, because we will continue to play like we do, and we will continue to have points. They can win every single match. So it's if they don't, then we have to be there and grasp the opportunity.
If you're listening to this podcast on Monday, today is a particular day for every Lazio fan. It's the 28th of October. Few years ago, something terrible happened in the Curva Nord, the death of Vincenzo Paparelli. Terrible moment for every Lazio fan. Yesterday, the fans remember Vincenzo. Today, on the social account, Lazio remember Vincenzo Paparelli. You were there, you were telling me.
Yes, 1979. I was 12. I was there with my dad. One of the rare times I went to the stadium with my dad, and it was always a bad mistake. He never brought much luck. We were there. My memory is we didn't really notice what was happening until the Curva Nord just went up in flames and people started crying, and that we knew that something had happened. And I don't remember the match as being a farce, but having read the accounts, the match was a farce and nothing really happened. They scored early. Lazio scored early, and Roma equalized almost immediately after. And but every time the ball went into Curva Nord, the supporters didn't give the ball back. They didn't want the match for them shouldn't have been played. But if the match hadn't been played, it would have been probably worse. Even Wilson said in his autobiography, if we hadn't played, it wouldn't have been just one death. There probably would have been more, because then you had to. In this way, some people already had left after they realized what had happened. So it wasn't a packed stadium. In Curva Nord, people had left. So it wasn't all that. When the match finished, you didn't have those 80, 90,000 people walking back home. So they were able to get things organized in time. If they had gone off altogether, and that would have been a problem. There would have probably been fights between the supporters. It was late 70s in Rome. It was a really nasty moment to live in Rome. There was lots of violence on the streets. There was terrorists, both right wing and left wing, shooting all the time. A couple of years earlier, Ciccone had been shot by a jeweler, was terrified that he'd be robbed again. It was a really tough, dark moment in Italian history, and that death is also part of what happened from a historical point of view. It is actually the day Calcio died. It wasn't for me. I think the naivety of football being completely outside of society that was it, finished. Football is part of society, and whatever happens within the society is reflected also on the football in the football stands.
Yeah, that was unfortunately. Luckily enough, I don't remember. I was too young, but yeah, that was a terrible moment for every Lazio fan, and still incredible how what was it a Maxwell ship? How do you call it?
A flare.
A flare. How that got in the stadium is still incredible to believe, right?
At that point, anything went in this town, and the banners were terrible. They were really terrible.
Yeah, but I mean, you can understand the banners, but a flare, something like that, so dangerous.
No, there was hardly any checks or anything. Now it's ridiculous. You go through one gate, then they check you, and then you go through another gate, and then they check you, and then you go for a third gate, and then they check you. And now it's just ridiculous, because you haven't even got, unless you got a pigeon dropping things from above into your hands, it's a bit difficult to go through 3 checks within 100 meters and have some kind of armament with you. So at that time, there was just a little petting here and there. Sometimes they just let you go anyway. The thing that I was always interested in, they always looked in women's handbags, but the men, they didn't check so much. So that was I always found that a little bit weird. But at the time, they just didn't, and you could go in with anything. I mean, there was drug trafficking even in at the time in the stadium, no problem at all. I mean, the police weren't they had other things to do.
Simon, to come back to our days, Lazio has a huge opportunity, because before the next international break in Serie A, we have some, I would say, easy game. We are playing Como away on Thursday. Then we have Cagliari at home on Monday. And then we have Monza, I think it's the next one. So achievable games for Lazio, not impossible. I mean, winning those games would push Lazio high on the table. And then, you can really start talking about Europa League, Champions League, etc. In the past, though, when Lazio had those run, we never were able to win all those games, even if we were playing easy team. Do you think something's changed, and this time Lazio can really do it?
I think Lazio can do it. Lazio does have a few problems with teams which are very tight behind, and as we've seen in the last couple of games, because Lazio doesn't have that player that can ignite the spark that will open up spaces, except with Nuno Tavarez, who just, when he decides to take the ball down, he is the one. So, but we have a great opportunity. but we still have to get into the games thinking more of playing well and trying to score and not thinking too much about long term. Just live each match as it comes, and try to do our best, play well. Calm or difficult, they occasionally do play well. Fortunately, we're not playing in the winter because the stadium is right on the lake, and so you can imagine playing there in January, February in the evening with icy on an icy pitch. We almost lost the Scudetto once in 2000 in Venice because we played on an icy pitch with sort of -10 degrees. So it's good to play in decent weather. And then the other two games, those are games that we can win, but we have to go in with a positive attitude and not sort of go in, oh, we have to win. No, we can win. So have and Baroni is very good at that. He's not. I don't think he puts a lot of pressure on the players, and the players want to enjoy themselves. So as long as they are, then there's no point in changing the attitude.
To wrap it up, are you surprised of what Baroni's doing, or you were expecting something like that?
Well, Baroni has always had I've always spoken very highly about him. So even Sarri said he was a great manager. Lecce played really well under him, and also Verona did quite well. So it doesn't. You can be a good manager even if you haven't managed big teams. You can be a terrible manager even if you have managed big teams. So this is a big opportunity for him. It's an opportunity coming rather late in his career, and so he won't mess it up. And also he is not only a manager as far as the football is concerned, but also a people's manager. So it's not like Mourinho being, I am Mourinho, you are nobody. It is a man of the people, so he will treat his players in a different way and be more open. Pellegrini has said that he now is more he feels he is more helped on the pitch. He knows more what to do. Even Gustav Isaksen said there's more dialogue with the manager compared to before. So I think that does help, and he seems to be a nice guy.
Yeah, he looks a nice guy. My concern was that he's 61 and had just 2 good seasons with Lecce and Verona. Before that, he was really struggling. So, and moving from Verona to Rome is not the same thing. The pressure here is much.
But he's played with Maradona. So he's played in Naples with Maradona. They won the Scudetto. That's pressure. He has had pressure as a football player. So that comes into his CV. So that does help, because playing with Maradona is something completely different than playing in a normal team. You also have to be lucky. I mean, there are some managers who are immediately put into given the best. It's a bit like Formula One. You can, if you're a good driver and you got a really good car, you can win. If you're a good driver and you got a car that breaks or is not in that, hasn't got the power, you can be the greatest, a mixture between Fangio and Niki Lauda. Yep. You're never going to win. So it depends on the car. In as far as managers is concerned, it also depends on the luck of the draw, on the fact that if in the first 10 matches you have to play against every single big team, you're going to lose every single one. They're going to sack you. There are some. I think the difference between winning a Scudetto and not winning a Scudetto is when the ball, instead of hitting the post, goes in. That is basically it. It's a matter of luck, of good fortune. You play well, but you also earn the luck that you get, and that is the difference in some cases. And so it's also a matter of luck, and he has his idea. I remember when he started in the first friendlies, he started with a 4-2-3-1, and then he played 4-3-3 for quite a lot, and I didn't see really that doing well. But once Cataldi left, he was forced to do 4-2-3-1 because he hasn't got enough midfield players, and that has really made a difference. Lazio plays well with that, and I can imagine. You can imagine Felipe Anderson on the right in a good shape. The damage he would be doing to the opponents. So it's good if Lazio manages to keep on going like this, but only stays 3-4 years, and we keep getting better players in key roles. Then the sky's the limit.
I'm happy you're very optimistic. Well, we'll see what the future brings us. Simon, thanks a lot for joining me. It was a pleasure. Thanks, guys, for listening to the podcast. Please rate and review wherever you listen to the podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you want to support us, patreon.com/Lazio Lounge. Membership starts at $2 a month. Thanks, Simon. Take care.
Thank you. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.